Okay, I think I got this working. Yeah, it is. Okay. So, this is how to replace your thermopaste on a CPU. First, you need some thermopaste, which I'm using Noctua. I found it on the internet, on Amazon for like 10 bucks, pretty cheap. A toolkit, I have the Sharden kit, has a bunch of stuff in it, and I'm gonna use this to clean out the heatsink. But the first thing first is take this apart. It's not hard at all, just memory. Memory is the biggest game you have to play with on this. I'm using, sounds bad, but I'm using this bit. Again, comes out of this, comes right here. I'm using this set. I'm gonna use number 1. Put it back in there. Put it into this thing. And so on a laptop, the new ones have this covering on it. It's this rubber feet, helps the laptop stay still for you, and there's going to be screws behind it. But beware, when you do this, you're violating the warranty on your laptop, so you can no longer return it and get it back redone by the company itself. This is if you have a working knowledge of laptops, which not many people do, and I completely respect that. But undo the screws, not hard. This is always the hard part. Oh, and also, before you do anything, disconnect like any external things you have on it, like USB. That way, when you take off the base plate, it doesn't break and shatter the back. And if you shatter the back, you risk damaging the motherboard. Motherboard runs your entire thing with the CPU. And the reason why you want to replace the thermal paste on your CPU is because after time, it dries out and eventually will not be taking up any of the heat from the CPU and putting it into the heatsink, dispersing it into the air via your fans. So you take this off. This is for this model, by the way. I'll list it in the description below. What model it is. And want to be careful not to break anything. Take your time, because you don't want to mess this up even more if it's already broken. Okay, there we go. Take that base plate off, and then you're left with this. I would explain everything, but I'm gonna just do a quick thing. So this is your solid state drive, SSD. It's faster than a hard drive, which is a hard disk drive. Battery pack, RAM, and then your CPU cooler. CPU cooler has this on it, and your laptop is not off. I completely forgot about that, but it's whatever. It doesn't hurt. But you can see there is a little bit of dust in there, but we will fix that. So the first thing you want to do is disconnect everything. I'm gonna turn it off before I do this because I don't want to ruin it. That's all the way off. Now we don't have to worry about that fan doing anything harmful. So you can take out the fan if you want. You don't have to, but if you do, there is clips. You want to take those off carefully. This one, off, so use some plastic wedges and disconnect pieces. Super helpful. And again, biggest thing I said is this is a memory game. Remember where things go, and it will never be an issue for you. Also, most of the pieces on a motherboard are all the same size. That's for manufacturing issues. I don't know why, they just do it. It makes it pretty easy to replace. That's the fan. Disconnected. Just carefully. This we could take it apart further and clean it out. The reason why you clean it out is because this fan spins stuff into this, which is your heatsink, which is connected to your CPU. That gets blocked, then there's no ventilation, and then therefore it overheats quickly. But mine doesn't seem to have too much issue, so I'm not too worried about it. You can take it apart later, but I don't think it needs to be taken apart, and I don't want to break it. So we're gonna be okay with that. You want to take it off one side at a time. It's like a tire. You want to do cross section. Nice view of my hand, I know. And you are gonna most likely need Q-tips, a paper towel, whatever you want to remove or disperse of the rest, because there's gonna be a lot of thermal paste on there. And that was pretty hard to get off. So we need to be careful with this. There we go. Mine actually had a really good connection because I just replaced it recently. But that is thermal paste. It's a silvery compost. Again, you put thermal paste on there. That thermal paste transfers the heat from the CPU to this. This travels to this, the heatsink. And the heatsink is connected to the fan, cools it off, and escapes of the vents. That's why you want to make sure your thing is clean. Always. Or it's going to have overheating issues. That might be why your CPU, if you go to your task manager, is through the roof sometimes. And there's a fan noise. It's because it's struggling. But that's the thermal paste that we need to remove. And I actually did a really good job on the amount that I put on there. So I'm proud of myself. Okay, so when you're doing this, you want to make sure you get all of it, most of it off. I'll show you some of it. Mine's really wet, so it's going to be decently easy to take off. The thermal paste, when we take this, if I don't do it wrong, it's like a syringe in a way. You want to take this, you want to take that part off. It's going to be like that. And you don't want a lot. Don't let me stress that. If you put too much on, then it's going to be a mess to clean up later. And you don't want to deal with the mess later. I promise that. Yeah, that's plenty. Okay, then you put the lid back on. And you screw it up. Because if you don't tighten this, then you're risking yourself having it harden up. It's kind of like any caulk, for example, or glue. It'll get hardened up and trap it in there. And that stuff is not the cheapest, but it's not the most expensive either. But it's very useful. It's like a thermostat in your vehicle. Take care of them. So you put it back. It's not difficult. Make sure it's lined and press down. That's secure. Okay. And when I said earlier that you need to make sure it's like a vehicle, a tire in your vehicle, you alternate. You have to put even pressure on it. And don't strip the screw because these are so hard to find. Okay, there, that's that in. My fan, it's not bad. It's actually really clean, surprisingly, for this. So I'm just gonna put it right back in its little spot. Remember, wires, you gotta work with them. And wire, there, that's back in. Not hard. Some of these clips are really difficult. These ribbon cables, the tinier ones, are such a pain to get in. But we have the screws for those, so we're gonna put those in real quick. But you can tell me if this is too hard. I've also taken this laptop apart multiple times. And also on the fan, it's not, you don't have to alternate the screws. You can put them in however. But again, as I was saying, it's not hard to do this. It's really not. It's just if you have a working knowledge and it's worth the risk or whatever to you, do it. In all means, learn from it and do it. It's super easy. But that's it. That's the thermal paste replaced. Just like that. And I used maybe 3 Q-tips from that, so that's pretty good. And then the basic plate goes back on. And actually, this can have performance increases on your desktop or laptop as well. Just gives your CPU something to breathe with. This is the same on anything, and I mean anything. I believe phones have the same processor as well, same thing. Xboxes, all consoles, all sorts of tech has it, but most common is desktops and laptops. You have to replace the CPU, thermal paste sometimes, or apply it, and you want to apply not too much but not too little, because as soon as you put the what's it called, the plate back on it, the cooler heatsink, when you put that back on with pressure, it will expand and it will cover up the entire surface, promise. And this is paste. There is a liquid metal one that works. The new gen consoles have liquid metal in them. It, if I'm not wrong, it's gallium. It's really cool. It has more conductivity than this does, but this is also like really good. I haven't had a problem with it, and my thing's been running really well. But that's about it for you guys. Hope you enjoyed.